Right on Q Live, we are live, and I have an Ethiopian kidnapped refugee.
Please, somebody help me, please.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, my name is Michaelangelo Turner. I'm an artist, entrepreneur, and a fighter, and a friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before I get into our friendship and tenure and history and your life specifically and all those good things, once upon a time, you once said to me, not once said to me, you once used to say often that you called your dick Zeus.
Yeah,
So,
the mighty one.
so is that still the name? Is that still the thing that the relationship you and your dick have? Is that still the ongoing narrative?
Yeah. I don't want to ruin the answer before answering, but yes. It's a through line in my story. Zeus is the one unchanging force and immovable force in my life.
Immovable force.
He dragged on the floor. I got a third leg. I'm sorry.
You go through many things and like many ups and downs, but there's one constant.
Yes, and that's the mighty structure and power and the force of Zeus.
I just had to get that off in the beginning. I thought that shit randomly early. This nigga used to say this shit all the time. That shit be cracking. All right.
Hey man, you usually ask many of my victims, man. Zeus has affected many lives. Claimed many a victim.
All right. So let's get outside of that. Now we got that out the way. So,
great icebreaker, by the way.
Yeah, I try. So a lot of people are familiar with August Alsina nowadays, where he's going through a Jada Pinkett life being fucked up. No, you ain't. It's about to be curveball. So his life being fucked up. I like to tell you, August Alsina. I used to be a fan. He's pretty much done now. But I say he has like the most fucked up life ever. Like all type of wild shit that happened and it's crazy, whatever.
Yeah.
I still say he's probably number one on the list of people with just fucked up lives, whatever. But once upon a time, the person that started the list was you, my friend. When I first met you, I was baffled and amazed at just how many things that you went through that happened to you and you've gone through. And end of the day, of course, you got your issues with it, but for the most part, you never really let it break you or change you as a person. You always been a good person with that, like through it all.
Hey man, I appreciate that.
No problem at all. We all have our flaws, and you definitely got yours, sir. But you definitely never let all this fucked up wild shit. And you were one of the first people that we had this conversation all the time, but you were one of the people that made me realize just how, of course, I've never thought my life was bad, but I always knew that my life wasn't great, whatever. But you put it into perspective, like, no, like, recognize your privilege, recognize your fortune, and things can always be better, but things can always be worse and shit like that, whatever. So I remember the first time I ever seen you in our bum ass first college class ever, English 8 a.m. And I have no idea. Everybody always told me don't take an 8 a.m. class, and I made it my first class ever. Retarded as shit.
Yeah.
And it was cold as shit, and you came in on the first day with flip flops on and no socks. And I remember my first thought, I'm like, who the fuck is this bougie ass nigga think he is? Hipster ass nigga. Little did I know, this nigga just has a fucked up downturn right now in his life going on. He's trying to make it work. So I say all this. Talk a little bit about your background and just everything leading up to that. We went to Point Break University, and that point in your life, whatever. And, a little bit about yourself and how you got into the arts and however you want to attack that.
All right. Well, I don't want to try to skip over anything, but I want to try to answer it in a summarized form. So, I'm one of 6 kids. There's 2 girls, 4 boys. Sorry about my math timing on that. One is a newer addition. She's about 11-ish years old. She's my new sister. I was born in 1992 in Homewood. Homewood's not the best area of Pittsburgh, but it's reflective economic neighborhood as there are many in America. And my father was in the military at the time, and I was raised by my mom and in that window, and she was struggling with an addiction, crack, and that was a pattern in her life up until today. Even she's still struggling with that, and so I was after being removed by CYS. Me and my younger brother Adam, we both got placed together, and our life began from there. Foster home to our uncle's house to on and off with my dad and back and forth to my uncle's house. Basically, growing up in basements, essentially. So, and there were struggles even then. About I think 11 is when I tried smoking marijuana. And as you've seen so far, it's still been a consistent habit of mine in my life. But I've also indulged in selling drugs and guns and many of things I've paid for already, and some not. So I won't elaborate in detail. But then at 15, I found acting, and a little bit after that, at 15 I found acting, and also I found Buddhism, and it kind of, to put it simply, it was Eastern Buddhism, and it basically let me know about the laws of karma and Kosen Rufu, which is Japanese for world peace, and how I wanted to all of my actions to impact the world for the better and not for the worse. And we did a world peace event, and before that I auditioned for Point Park. When I got back from Philadelphia doing the peace event, it was called Rock the Era at Temple University. I got accepted to Point Park University, and then my life began to change from there. I met like 2 of the best people I think ever. You know, one of them being you. One of them being you.
Sal isn't all that. Like,
and Sal definitely, you know, are my brothers. 2 people that I think kind of gave me like a place to be free and be myself, and also 2, almost a place to play judge, play jury, and actually be the defendant at times with my ideas, with my lifestyle, with my habits. So it was a dynamic and beautiful relationship that began to, I think, carry me on through my career at Point Park.
Yeah, when I look back at the timeline, I don't even know how shit even turned out to be how it was, but like, you know, before we knew it, you moved into our dorm the first year, and like that.
It was one of those imposing situations. Like it was like you didn't seem like you were trying to get to know anybody new, and I was like getting cool with Sal. And I think, I don't know, one thing led to another. Sal kind of knew my situation with my dorm. And I wasn't cool with my roommate and his lifestyle and whatever. And and by any means, I was trying to get up out of there. And I didn't, like, literally one thing led to another. I knew your name. I realized we were in a class or 2 together. And then I was in your room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we weren't appointed rooms together yet. Like, that grew after our relation grew,
Yeah.
but like you and Sal had a room together, you know,
Yeah, it was definitely a room
it
built
was
for
an
two
imposing
people.
situation.
It was a room built for two people, and the third nigga ended up living there for the remainder of the year. And then the second year,
Exactly.
we got the 3-person room, and there was more space, whatever, than the working. But also, is it correct? You know, I be telling stories a lot, whatever. I like to take creative liberties and shit like that, whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it true that on your 18th birthday, your dad said, "You're grown, you're a man now, get the fuck out"? This is really happening?
That's not very. It's not very far from the truth.
Okay.
It would be the girl in his life, and it was my fault because I hooked him up. You know what I mean? So it was like it was somebody I discovered I thought was a remedy to a situation. She was like, "Yeah, you're grown now, so you can go." I mean,
You can
you can
go.
go. Like seriously, like you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then and one of my friends from high school, another important person in my life, Keenan, he he let me crash at his place, but wasn't the best place. It was literally like at first I thought I was gonna crash in the living room, but I was crashing in his basement where his dogs died. So it was like kind of shitty. It's like shitty, and that led to some concern from the school, and that is what got me eventually after my acceptance got me to have a place to stay on campus, even off seasons when most people would go home because obviously home was nowhere for me at that point. So
Yeah, and also, and speaking like your dad, whatever, your relationship with your dad also like my first experience of with the idea of like, well, at first hand experience of like, 'cause, you know, I've always, you know, again, I speak from a place of privilege. With me and my folks have like a good stabilized relationship, whatever. So I always been like, yo, like I don't understand like forcing things, and if it's fuck me, it's fuck you type thing, whatever. But seeing
yeah,
how
yeah.
you battled and tried to make situations work in some regards, whatever, with your dad and your mom, was my first time of seeing like that dilemma from a child's standpoint. Like, no, these are my parents, and things aren't ideal, but I don't want to throw this away. And I said to say, with my podcast, I don't interview or have conversations with plenty of people who've shared those same similar stories and experiences.
Mhm.
One girl, in fact, you know, it was a great episode. Shout out to Ash Woods. Forgot the name of the episode, whatever. You know, she another person. She's on that list. Man, no, she surpassed you though. Of just like fucked
Ah,
up, like
thank
crazy
you.
lives.
Thank you, Woods. Thank
Yeah,
you.
share her shit is wild. Her sister tried to kill her at like 9, and
Oh,
her mom. Then like she so much shit. Like damn, what's the episode called? Trauma Roots. If you listen this far, go listen to the episode Trauma Roots. Very dope, great
got you.
person with a fucked up life. But
Gotta see.
she
Gotta see.
managed to
Gotta see them all, obviously.
yeah, she managed to overcome that and not let it define her or bog her down. And through all this fucked up shit her family did to her, she not only forgave them and looked past it, she ended up taking care of all of them because now they all sick and disabled, all type of shit like that, whatever. And that's just a
Mm.
thing with them. So how are you now as a grown man, and things you've been through personally, things you went through with your parents specifically, but also recognizing that they did things that made you go through other things that maybe you didn't have to go on. How you think about those things now?
Well, don't let me get thrown off in answering this, but first, I want to say, kind of as a preface or just address one of the things you said, I don't think you're ever speaking from a place of privilege. Again, I think though my situation may be perceived as fucked up or more fucked up, I think we're all, it's just like existentialism as we learn, like we're all put in this world and we got to figure it out. I don't think anyone's situation's more or less fucked up unless we're literally discussing third world country people shit. I mean, on an American level, for the most part, we all have the same opportunities. You know, you see where I'm leaning with that.
Yeah.
The opportunities that people in third world countries don't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, well, I'm not going to get into the repression and all that other stuff, but my perception and how I've dealt with that and even moving forward, I think I think there's a time in our youth where we allow ourselves to be the victims of circumstance, and um, it's a lot easier to place blame everywhere but self, and even hinting at where I came before. We're all given life, so we're all given an opportunity to make yesterday better than the day before. I mean, today better than yesterday. You know what I mean? So uh, that said, I think moving forward, I'm owning up to my sins, if you will, or just taking responsibility for where I am and where I can be, and just working my ass off to get to where I want to be. You know what
Right. So kind of extension of that same of that same thought. Recently, I've been having some conversations with people, and I realize a lot of people have like what I would call a sickness in the sense of
I mean?
not knowing how to cut ties to people, whether that's like a family relationship or friends, where like, no, this person truly isn't good for you. This person
Right?
truly isn't good to you or for you. But certain people just have dynamics where it's like they can rationalize anything, where it's like, yo,
Yeah,
I know this bitch is like the worst girlfriend of all time, but like we just together. And it's like, I know.
yeah. It's
So
like that rapist, rapey victim thing where some victims grow to love the actual guy. You know what I mean? It's like that,
yeah.
like a
So
justification.
what? Because I like I said, so back to your folks. I know even your brother, y'all had different down periods. Like, do you think you have, or do you suffer those type? Do you think you have an issue with that type of dynamic or situation where it's like, I don't know how to cut people off, or I try to always like, no, we can fix this, or I can look past this, or what do you think about that?
Yes, I think I exactly. Yes, I think I've had that problem worse than most people, more than all the people I know, to be precise. Like, um, because I felt like when I believe something, I believe it to the point of delusion, almost to the point of no one can tell me anything else. You know, so if I feel I'm the best person to diagnose the remedy, uh, then or diagnose the problem and provide the remedy, then I feel like that's kind of the my not being able to cut people off, or also see myself as a solution in other people's lives. I feel now I don't necessarily have that problem because I got to a place where I kind of had to shut everything down, and in that I realized my ability not to cut people off, or to cut people off, some more than others, it stemmed from areas of weakness in self, and it was self projection on others, and that's not necessarily diagnosing or providing a remedy. That's almost enabling or being enabled by um, giving an example. If you have a, a family member who um, you feel you can't live without, but they uh, they are the actual quintessential example of something holding you back that you can't live without, would be the driving force on why you're finding a reason to justify not evaluating the situation. And I think when you get to a point where you have to shut shit down and kind of go into an introverted space all the way alone, you realize where your strengths and weaknesses are, where you need to grow and alone, and also where you need people. And I think that's when you realize the relationships that establish at that point are the actual makeup of your heart. You know, those relationships, I think, are what define love in your mind. Because if you didn't have those relationships, what would be your referencing point, you know? So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Gotcha. Also, side note, your mentor was Bill Nunn, who a lot of
Yes.
people would know from Radio Raheem, Do the Right Thing, The Dudden Man,
Mhm.
New Jack City, The Black
Yes,
Guy, Spider Man. He's done a bunch of things. Speak on how you guys met, and how that relationship went, and all that stuff.
absolutely. So his dad went to Westinghouse High School. Um, I wound up going to Westinghouse High School after getting kicked out of middle school, and I was only at Westinghouse for a stint of 2 years before I dropped out. And in my 10th grade year, the very beginning, there was the inception of this thing at the time called the August Wilson Monologue Competition. And they invited the entire school. I was the only, myself and my girlfriend at the time and her friend was the only people to show up. I was the only person to finish the program. And in that after school program of learning monologues and rehearsing monologues, it was Bill Nunn who showed up directly, and he explained immediately the only reason he came to this school is because his dad went here. So don't feel like you guys, are even deserving of this. And I felt, a competitive kind of fire in me, like, what? Like who is you for real? You know what I mean? But I knew I recognized him. I didn't know why I recognized him. I'm just like, who is you? Like, teach me what you got to teach me, bro. Like,
Lawrence
but
Fishburne, lookalike nigga.
right, right. And but I was interested. I was very interested because I knew, like at that time I had just discovered like what like that kids could act. I seen Shia LaBeouf on Disney. I'm like, I could do that shit. I definitely could do that shit. And so this was my shot, and I took it. We started going to competition, and then uh, the school started getting weaned down, blah blah blah. And I made it, even though I dropped out in the midst of the competition, I placed ish, and but they couldn't give me first, second, or third because I wasn't in school at the time. So Bill Nunn, in being with me along that process, we kind of grew a little closer, and well, a lot closer, and and he he basically let me know, like, in winning a place or placing, you would need to go to school. And I'm like, huh? You know what I mean? I just dropped out. Like, I ain't really trying to do that. And he's like, well, if you want to be like an actor, if you want to be even around me, I can't be with no like dropouts around. So I got my GED, and then along that process, I was acting and doing like a few plays at a time, and then it led to the the World Peace event. I left Philly to do the World Peace event, but it was right after I auditioned for Point Park. But in that, I I was growing closer to this man and getting to know him. And the first thing I recognized him being in was Spider-Man, and it was his smallest bit of work. And but then I started seeing all of his works gradually as I was working, and not still haven't seen all of them, but all of the major characters that we know. And I was like, whoa, I gotta be this guy. I gotta be like this guy. Like, he's somebody who made it out of this shitty city. Like, there has to be a way if he could do it. So yeah, like, and
Dude,
he became a father figure. But sorry, go ahead.
no, you good. Is that all you want to say?
Well, yeah, further. Sorry. Yeah.
Um, so I remember we definitely had conversations because you didn't actually finish Point Park. We had many conversations about the time there, about how you was dealing with things, I was dealing with things, all type of shit, whatever. So, in total hindsight now, do you regret going to college for acting?
1,000%.
Hmm.
1,000%. Like, I was so to be honest, I was so with the hype of Bill Nunn, and I left out like 100%. He introduced me to this lady, Holly Donner, and I did several, like a lot of musicals, plays, wrote, directed, did a lot with her, and it was like for acting, no, like for going to college for acting, fuck no. Like I just think it's retarded. Like I don't. No offense to anyone who's went to school for acting. I just think if you've spent like I was late to the table, so there was a lot I didn't know, and that even still isn't a justification for going into that amount of debt. Um, Especially for something that's not a guarantee, for something that's defined as being a starving artist. You know what I mean? Dustin Hoffman worked as a waiter for the majority of his youth before getting discovered, I think, in The Graduate. So it was like, I mean, that, and that's the great ones. Like, you know, those are the big names. So I think most artists, and speaking for myself, if I could redo it, I think business is what we should have went to school for, because we would learn how to monetize anything as opposed to specializing in one thing that's considered by the world to be nothing. You know what I mean?
And then try to monetize it later, kind of thing.
Yeah, because ultimately you have to try to turn that into a business. And we're all learning that anything that we specialize in at this point in time, we have to try to turn it into a business, because jobs aren't guaranteed. Nothing is a guarantee besides death. So if you want to actually have a livelihood, you have to have multiple streams of income, and that isn't something that is a characteristic of many actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I definitely think back, like I don't, for my path thus far, I don't regret the college, but I definitely know looking forward, for how I plan to raise my child, the conversation will be different. I feel that, and not that my mom or I did anything wrong. It's just like, when you know better, you do better. And I agree, like the approach should have just been more like focus, of just like, this isn't the end all be all.
Right.
We don't have to do this, but if we're going to do this, there needs to be an exact plan that leads to money. Like, it's
literally,
like,
it's directly connected to it. It's directly connected to it. Your choice is defined by the amount of debt you have and the industry you're going into to eliminate that debt. So if you're not making
that's the equation that me and include a lot of people missed about. It's like we were so focused on, like, I feel before us, it was all about, yo, don't go into something and hate it and hate your life and resent yourself. And all right, cool, we get all that. Definitely, money isn't everything. But then we was all like, all right, we gonna go to something that we just love, we passionate about.
Exactly.
But then that's also not really it though, because they're just like, you ain't you still missing X in the equation. And X is just because you graduate and you love what you majored in, will this justify the debt in time you just put forth that? And a lot of us no, because like, and not that I feel like, of course, like I realized along my way, like really mine could have worked out if I didn't go to like Point Park. If I went to like New York, it would have, and not that Point Park is wrong, I'm talking about the area or whatever. If I would have attacked that type of lane, then it could have worked out and whatever. But it is what it is. I don't think I did anything wrong and I don't regret it, but it's like, but just going to Point Park, I could, that plan just didn't make sense. But it's cool though. So I think it's just interesting to look back on whatever. I know Sal, he said that he regrets going to Point Park, and he had a lot of apprehension about going to Columbia for his graduate school. But at the same time, he feels like the graduate school had been more beneficial than the undergrad, though. And he feels
absolutely
he could have just did undergrad a little differently or something, and the graduate school still would have been worth it, though. Even though he's still fucked though with even more debt though. So
right. And now it's funny though, because it's like it's one of those things where it's like you're in a better place than me. And I'd say by the definition of what we were taught, he's in a better place than you, heavy quotations, because at least now with acting or theater or cinema, he can immediately go into teaching, immediately begin to start paying back that debt. You know what I mean? You finished. You can immediately apply a BA anywhere. You see what I mean? It's like I didn't finish. So we all came out with debt. I can apply and not finish. You can apply a BA some places, and he can apply his MFA or Master in Arts immediately as being a teacher. Now, I say as being a teacher because in acting, the paper doesn't actually matter, which is why I say going to school for acting is almost retarded. It's literally a contradiction, because if you're going to school to master a trade or master an art or master a technique of sorts, acting by definition is pretending really hard. So if you're going to invest your money, why would you invest in pretending really hard? Because you can't really apply that anywhere. Now, as a person, you evolve and learn that everything, and you're forced to learn that everything you now know about just natural stimuli in the human psyche and even character, how that can be presented in many ways, but it doesn't actually give you experience in any field, and it doesn't make you particularly useful. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say, like, going to school for it. It's like people go to school for welding, people go to school for finance, and I went to school for pretending really hard. You know what I mean? So it's like you can only teach niche things. They're not very useful niche.
Right. And we'll get into the finance talk a little later on, but I know a part of the equation I feel my side was thinking about was the future. So, and I feel that's something is worth taking into account. Whereas like back then, it would have been logical or beneficial to think, I should probably get into computers. like something computer related, coding. Cause I remember telling myself, like, I'm not gonna do certain things because not only even if I do finish, I won't love it, but it's like I'm a struggle to even get through. I probably won't even finish it type thing, whatever. Like I know no matter what, I can't be a doctor. That's just not me, whatever. But if I look back, no, I could have did computer shit. Like I could have easily done some coding, graphic design, whatever. And those industries are for the future. Now, there's people out here that's going to be, anything that's backdated or antiquated is like that probably wasn't a good investment of your time because like your industry is shrinking by the day in a sense, whatever.
Yes.
That's another thing a lot of people think about when they go to school is like, is this an industry or market of the future? And is this going to blow up or is this constantly expanding? And I think about it like, I know niggas that get certificates right now in computer and they go be an IT person in the company. And IT shit is never going nowhere. Computers are getting built every fucking day, whatever. So that's something where it's like, I think about that's, I think about for my child that you doing some computer shit, nigga, or you doing some like some engineering type things? Like these are like concrete careers and you can probably wrap your mind around whether you love it or hate it or nothing, and you'll be all right. This is something to stand on firm, and you're gonna make great money on it. So shit like that.
And if you can get your thumb on the idea of the future and somehow be gravitated toward it, like absolutely kudos to you. That's like rare, because people can rarely predict anything. They can barely predict what they're going to have for dinner, let alone what is going to be successful in the future. But that said, I think you're on the right side of something practical, something that will not go out of style. And I think practicality is always the method of the future. So if you're studying, and then I know we're going to go into finance later, so I'm trying to answer this without going in that route, but something like computers or anything that's listed as a trade, shit.
I think but that's the thing, even computers are so multifaceted, so it could be niggas hardware engineer, building computers, or anything design related. Like I used to see so many people back when we was in college that's just, you know, like, but my idea of graphic design wasn't as expansive as it is now. Just seeing so many people back then, it was just like, you know, all right, like CD covers or something. Now, everybody, no matter if you're doing something creative, you need a graphic designer. You won't go far
Yeah,
without somebody
yeah.
designing something graphic.
And now
So like, even
you're in a
that
place.
grown in that time, like.
Yeah, and now we're in a place where you can't do anything without a computer. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying there. I'm just thinking to add on top of that, like where else could people have invested their time that would have been beneficial
Yeah,
in the
I
future? So
think
I think,
engineering, architecture, finance, health type shit. You know, if you want to go for the health lane and knock yourself out, that ain't for
yeah,
everybody. And of course,
literature. I think because writing is art, but I think writing, math are two consistent parts of every industry.
mhm,
Every industry you're going to need somebody to write something. Every industry you're going
yeah,
to need
you need
somebody to do something.
copywriters for
And
sure.
now every industry you're going to need somebody to use the computer. Exactly. So I like to add to layer on top of the computer math and English, which obviously would have been flipped upside down. So it would have been math, English, and then computers. But yeah, something that never goes out of style. You know what I mean? Literature, food, real estate, water. You
Mhm.
know, like technology. Those things. I think it, if we can pick, it almost should have to be like one of those things. Like there should almost have to be something practical because later on we're going to get into it, but you have to, like, the reason we're investing this time is so that we have a comfortable livelihood financially, being honest. Like that's what it is. But we also want to have some joy in it too, and some sense of fulfillment. But we can find fulfillment and purpose in any of those things that we listed, because there are mediums that we can specialize in. But I mean, that we could venture into, but if we specialize in one of those core things we were saying, I think a lot of us would be better off. And even as countries, like if we look at China, their core value naturally, just like you were saying, they're raising scientists and engineers and computer people. That's it. Like if you're not one of those people, you're literally a doctor or a lawyer or a fitness guy. Like there's no other place in the market, or you're at the bottom. And I would consider the bottom of their culture just the food industry. Like they're just, my family make this, your family make that. That's what it is. But if you look at their economy, it's almost set that way. And even after, it's not even my opinion. This is almost secondhand from what an interview or documentaries I've seen. You know how their culture is broken down. It's like priority in Asian culture is technology, computers, science. So it's naturally practicality, and I
Right.
think that's something we need to put back into our lives. I think as African Americans and as young adults.
Gotcha. So side note, so another thing that we talked about recently, where I was telling you that, I went through like a sort of an epiphany or whatever, where I was taking a step back from certain things to me that being not important or just stupid and retarded. And I started to trying to refocus my energy and my focus, I suppose, as well, to things that mattered more and people that matter more, whatever. And you were one of the people that I reached out to reconnect with and see what's going on, whatever. So generally, what are your thoughts on like friendships and um preserving friendships and recognizing ones that don't need to be preserved and protecting your peace and things like that, just like human connections and things you've learned through the time through your years and things how you look at things now, generally like friendship and the significance of bonds and shit like that.
I like this question. This, not that I don't like any of the other ones, but I like
Everything else is trash, I understand.
for the most part. So no, but no, this is reminiscent of the other question. So I think it goes back to that. I think, well, thank you firstly, seeing me as someone that's important. I see you as someone that's important in my life as well. And I think it goes back to the that our relationships are pieces of our definition of love. So I think all of our relationships are that we possess from this day forward. Me, you're on the same page as me, especially for you to be able to ask the question of, um, letting some people go and so basically selecting your loved ones. Uh, I think we understand at this point that every person in our life is here for our benefit, and also we're here for their benefit and their progression and their protection. And I think inadvertently we receive that because in being a defining piece of love, it's unconditional. You know what I mean? So I think it's it's almost a pleasure to have. It's clear because the people who are deemed relationship worthy in your life innately are a pleasure to have in your life. Everyone has difficult times with individuals because we're all difficult individuals. But but I think, yeah, that I can't even repeat it. It was so good. Like, but no, I just think, yeah, the people, yeah, I leave it at that. I think.
Yeah, I kind yeah, kind of like in recent years, like we didn't we not fell out or this we wasn't we didn't talk as often. I felt like you was going through a lot, whatever, and you just say Lisa was going through a lot, whatever. And I was like, I didn't like the place that the friendship was in, so I felt it was just like need to take a step back. I was like, this just don't even seem healthy or right. It was just in a weird place, whatever. I didn't think it was like conducive to the energy of the time, whatever. But then, like you said, fame can still be important because like no matter what. Come on, I'm thinking. I agree. I've always been the type of person about self-preservation, whatever. So if it isn't good to me or good for me, it's just pointless to me. And but yeah, so like, but just because the person on the other end of something can just be not right at the time because they're going through what they're doing, as long as they didn't do anything to me, all can be forgiven. There's never no hard feelings, but that don't mean we on the same page or not. It's totally fine.
Right.
But once life happens and you can get caught up in other shit like that, then I had to check myself where it's like, just because someone was on the same page as you, like it's still worth clearing clearing the air. That's even the term necessary for the moment, but making sure like the extended hand is there and make sure like the reminder the love is there. Because, like you said, the history doesn't change, the memories don't change, and if there was never no beef, the love is still there. And like let's that was like my thinking of like, if nothing never happened, it's worth just checking in and just seeing what's
checking to check in for clarity is, I think, something that must be done, because if you have to check in for clarity, then you're not in a good space. You know what I mean? So like, I agree 1,000%. Like when I was in such like a dark place, I couldn't even consider where my friendships were or the state of my relationships, because I was so enthralled with what I was going through. I was being completely selfish. You know what I mean? And Sal was a constant reminder of that in many ways. My brother was a constant reminder of that in many ways. Just saying you're really being a shitty friend, and in many aspects, I was seeing I was being a shitty person, and I was out of control.
That's always been like our dynamic. Like me and Sal, when we have our mutual friends, we've always realized that way we go about friends is differently, whatever. He's the one that likes to confront things and go things head on. Where like me and you, we've never had an argument before. For most, that's just not how we communicate, whatever. But Sal likes to unpack things or look through things.
Yeah.
We're like, no, I just let people
let's sit down.
like I just let people live their life, and our relationship is our relationship. And like we don't have a problem, then we don't have a problem. There's nothing really to talk about outside of it. So I understand that's just like my way of how I just compartmentalize things.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar.
And I can also recognize that isn't the healthiest of things, because people go through things and I can kind of miss it because I'm just focusing on like what our dynamic is, but their dynamic of dealing with other things can be fucking with them, whatever. But I can miss shit, whatever, and Sal don't miss nothing. That's also how he get into more arguments with our mutual friends.
And that's why I think your way of handling it is almost the most mature and healthy way of handling it, where some people can perceive it as disconnected, but it's just no. What matters is our connection, our dynamic right now. We good, and we're good. Cool. Nothing else. Sorry. Now truly checking in with somebody and getting some details here, that's good. You know what I mean? Like, we're friends, we're gonna do that. But I think when people that's like inviting unnecessary drama when you're trying to forcefully unpack things that it has to be a mutual thing. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're stabbing at somebody's hands to try to get them to open them, as opposed to letting them open them in their own time. Because some things, it's just like people learn things in their own time. Like, some things will be revealed in their own time. So I think a balance of both is the proper way. But I'm an extremist, and I always will be. So I kind of prefer that. We good, cool, enough said. You know what I mean? You ain't said nothing, so enough said.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's the way of, like, the path of least resistance. So hey.
Right. So let's say we talk about the act. So before we get off the actor thing, talk about August Wilson, because I'm still not into theater, but going to the point where I learned more about theater, talking style, I learned about theater, and so I didn't know who August Wilson was before I ever went to college, whatever. And being in a theater school and then being in his home, his mecca where he built whatever, it made me learn more about him, and I've grown to. Not that I studied him, but I've grown to learn more about him just indirectly and passing, and just appreciate all he's done, all he's meant, whatever. So, you being from where he's from, talk more about him, what he means to you, if anything.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like I'm butchering this interview already, because I didn't speak enough on the importance that Bill Nye had in my life, but he was, like, truly an amazing man and introduced me to many things. And I guess I got to use his phrase. He introduced me into a universe unto itself, and that was August Wilson's literature. And August Wilson was a mixed man, but a proud African American man. And
I don't think I knew that already.
Yeah. Well, I eventually was fortunate enough to be one of the youngest founding members of the August Wilson Theater Ensemble, so that was cool. But that ended up when it just lost funding. But August Wilson, yeah, he was mixed. His dad was white, his mom was black. He didn't really know his dad. He wrote The Century Cycle, which was 10 plays chronicalizing. Is that a word? Chronicalizing, something like that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying.
Wait. Chronicling.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. That word. The decades of the Black experience in America. So it was starting, I think, just after slavery, and up to, I think, the early. Go ahead.
Real quick question. I think it's the 90s though, but real quick question though. So did he ever write any other plays outside of those 10?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Those were his most popular plays, were the ones in the Century Cycle. Gotcha. Now, he wrote a one-man play. I think it was called The Janitor. It was about a janitor. It was a one-man show. And he wrote a number of other things. If I'm not mistaken, I think he wrote at least one, or at least was working on one musical. But he was a part of the Hill District's formed group. Damn it! It was just on my tongue. I think it was the Center Ave Poets. It was him, Rob Penny, and a couple other people. And but yeah, August Wilson Jitney was going to go to Broadway. Fences did go to Broadway. Jitney did go to Broadway. Fences went to Broadway. I think Sal's one of Sal's the president of his theater company, I think, directed one or two of them on Broadway. But yeah, he was literally one of the greatest Black voices ever. Him, Amiri Baraka, yeah, and now he has Fences as a movie. He has The Piano Lesson as a movie, and they're going to produce Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I was temporarily an extra in that, but you know, I'm not an extra, so my ego got to me. But yeah, so yeah, he's an amazing man and literally one of the greatest writers of all time.
Gotcha. So then I know you went from acting. You had a stint in music. Talk a little bit about that, but how your heart led you to that, and or that. I know at one point you was on some like Lupe, Ab Soul type shit. Then you was also like singing. You know, you it was bouncing around.
I'm a confused person, man. I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer to that question.
Moving on. Moving on. So now you're currently fighting, and you've always been a violent ass nigga. You know, since I know you, like, so you always been a violent ass. Nigga. You are the definition of terroristic threats. You're like that. But no, so
technically, that on my record since I was a kid. So
right,
now,
right. They made the law after you. They made that law from you.
Yeah, I think it's the Michaelangelo clause. Right. I mean, I think it's probably the Michaelangelo clause at this point.
Right. So talk about fighting. How you got into doing it semi-professionally and all that stuff.
Okay, so at Point Park, I was always around y'all two, but every time we would come in, there was this like big ass head, no neck having, like lazy eyed weirdo security guard. And I'm like, what's wrong with this dude? Like, why is he always like eyeballing these girls like he want them, or he eyeballing us like he want to smoke or something? Like, what's this about? Like, and we eventually had a conversation. He is like, oh, y'all do MMA and da da da. And I'm like, oh, where? Yeah, you know what? I practice traditional martial arts. I took some Aikido jiu-jitsu and some Tai Chi as well. Now I see your little eyebrows raised. Aikido jiu-jitsu.
Oh, my fucking girl out here trying to distract me. That's all it is, King. Like, no, you're doing.
Oh no. That's
women are trash. Women are trash. They try.
You're funny. You're funny. But no, yeah. So he started calling me like Wonton Fui or Kung Fu Man and shit. Like, so long story short, I had him bring me to like one of his gyms, and then I started going to that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym for a little bit, and then we went to Mad Dogs. So the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym I went to was Rose Grappling, and then we started going to Mad Dog, and I was already rolling live is what they call sparring in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we were going live and rolling, and I was submitting people who've been doing it, you know. So I'm like, what's good with this? This is nothing. I've been, you know what I mean? I have experience as a kid. Y'all may not know this, but in middle school, I was undefeated in Greco-Roman wrestling. So, you know, I'm kind of the shit, kind of. But I DQ'd myself right before Cities. I got into a fight at Alliance. So, long story short, long-winded answer. Sorry, I got locked up after I was after I had dropped out of school, and I met my coach there. You know what I'm saying? This man named Vito, and he introduced me to boxing. And
you had a Malcolm X moment. You had a Malcolm X moment where you meet the man in jail, change your life.
Man, for real. I was there like now I'm a brown skin brother, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like I was turning red. I felt like I was having a light skin moment. I'm looking at this dude, he put a shoe on the other side of his shoe, and he started throwing punches, but he was giving us different variations, so straight punches, hooks, uppercuts, you know. Like he was saying heart, liver, spleen, like diaphragm. I'm like, what the hell? Like, and he's pivoting on angles, and everybody everybody in wholesale at first got quiet. You know what I mean? So it was pretty. I got hooked from that moment. After eventually we got out, uh, I picked it up and I never put it down, man. I started training at the gyms in the city. I started kind of hip hopping. I started hopping, flip flopping between the gyms in the city, and I realized I might as well just stay with the. Well, I came to the conclusion that I should go back to the person who introduced it to me and or introduced me to it, and yeah, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since then. But while I was on my journey of flip flopping through the gyms, is uh, I was eager to fight. I was so eager to fight, and I wasn't the like in the weight classes that were popular for getting booked fights. So I had to start figuring shit out. So I started uh, working corners. That still wasn't exciting. I started talking to promoters. That wasn't getting me nowhere. So I started listing, calling promoters, calling gyms, and trying to book my own fights. And at that point, they were saying it's in this weight class. I'm like, okay, and then I would figure out a way to go to like make it to the fight, and then even though there would be like a weight differential, like it's USA boxing, so they don't really care. So uh, I fought numerous of times out or underneath my weight class, just starting as an amateur. But yeah, I'm loving it. I got into boxing. I'm 4-5 right now. I I was supposed to have another fight coming up, and then Corona happened, and so I do boxing. I started in boxing. I'm transitioning into MMA, and I'm 1-0 in MMA right now. So
Cool.
yeah,
And then another thing that we talked about I feel is like, I've been telling a lot of people that 2020, that was like the cliche thing at the end of 2019 of like 2020's year of clear vision and all that shit, whatever. But I do feel like it's been a year of alignment in a lot of ways. I feel like, well, alignment and revealing. A lot of shit just began pulled up from under the rug, and a lot of people just starting to see things, clear vision, whatever. But definitely
yeah,
about alignment, where I feel like a lot of things have just fallen into place of just like, focus and vision. One of the things where like, who would have thought that in the year a fucking pandemic happens and then the fucking market crash will be the year that I finally really get into studying finances and trying to think about
yes.
real financial literacy and figuring out shit. And then who would have
Mhm.
also thought at the same time that you would be on the same type time. And when I reach out to you, we will be able to talk about this, whatever. So talk about your introduction or current status into financial literacy and how significant it is to you, and just what is your approach been thus far.
All right. So I've had experience with dabbling in kind of little micro experience of entrepreneurship growing up. So it was like one of the first books, well, the first book I read on my own was 9 Steps to Becoming a Millionaire by Farah Gray. And I read that at 11 and no, at 13. And he was 11 when he became a millionaire. So I was like, whoa. And then I started technically my first cleaning service because I started working at my friend Campy's house, cleaning at his mom's house. Um, and then the illegal hustling stuff. And but then later on, I got through fighting. I had messaged this guy on boxing, on a boxing YouTube show that I watch, and he sent me 3 things. He said, if you, he said, video, so send me videos, and then he said, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he said, look into NACA, and I was like, whoa, and once I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I looked into his guide to investing, and I think he had two more after that. I think I read the third book, and then I went into Think and Grow Rich, um, uh, Richest Man in Babylon, There's a number of books I read. I'm sorry, I just got an alert on my phone that my phone died. But there's a number of books I read, but that got me on my journey, and I started working on my cleaning business, PGH Clean and Serve, which I'm transitioning into Michaelangelo art contracting. So I want it to be all real estate. Well, it is all real estate related contracting services. Not all, but we'll expand eventually. But right now, it's cleaning, it's general labor contracting, and real estate photography. So, and also thanks to Q, I started getting into stocks, and also thanks to my brother too. He told me about it too, but I was like, nah, I ain't hearing that. But you kind of forced me into it and let me know. And the first stock I got been getting for free, it was going up by the day. And instead of staying with it like a normal person would do, I just traded it and then went for the stuff that we were discussing. So I'm like, I'm interested in that because it falls under the philosophy of own what you love, which I think was introduced by Robert Kiyosaki, instead of doing what you love. And it falls under the financial principles of being financially literate. So yeah, I like the idea of being in control of at least a piece or a share of a company that I'm interested in, while being an entrepreneur who's developing companies on his own.
Right, but your main focus is also to get more into that is more so real estate. You want to be like
That's 1,000% my end game is
like a tycoon type nigga, like.
Yes. I'm going to lay it out here because I want to speak what is going to be. I'm going to speak it into existence. So I want to start by owning my neighborhood that I grew up in, buying these cheap ass houses, rundown houses, renovating them to livable condition, and renting them out, but renting them out by the room. I think that's like almost like in like renting college housing, like student housing. Renting by the room is a popular thing in like low income communities, and I think it's a good way of getting a solid ROI. And but I'm gonna start with Homewood, or start with a street in Homewood, expand to the entire Homewood, and then go to the other neighborhoods in my city. Start working my way y'all way. You know what I'm saying? Start taking y'all shit over, and then go down. Well, no, I can't start working my way y'all way because that's after I work my way a little west going into Ohio. Once my capital is expanded enough, I'd go get select properties in expensive areas of Philadelphia, New York, just to have a solid portfolio that I can continue to spend on from there. But he said some tycoon type shit because I have a theory to start with. Level one for me would be a solid 10,000 rooms. That may seem modest to a Grant Cardone or these super real estate investors, but 10,000 rooms at $100 a room, after obviously paying mortgage insurance or homeowners insurance and taxes, get taking in between $100 or $200 per room out of $10,000 is a lot of money. So level one, that would be a good place to go before I get into and I'm interested in multifamilies as well, another way of maximizing rooms. But that would be, I think, a solid level one before getting into true commercial real estate, like apartment complexes and, other commercial ventures, like storage or storage facilities, shit like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and there's been a common topic in recent episodes of mine because that's just been what's been on my mind and what's been my focus and energy. But I've talked to some people where they're like, yeah, Q, you seem very passionate about it. Like, I don't feel like we've had this discussion, but yeah. I said initially I don't feel I'm passionate about it. I just feel I recognize the urgency that niggas have been missing out on this information for way too long. I can only speak about just not even speaking, of course, generally niggas been missing out, but also me. Like, I've been on this planet for how fucking long, and niggas really never understood what the fuck a portfolio really is.
You're right.
That is alone is just troubling, to say the least, whatever. Niggas out here going their entire existence on this planet and only have a savings account that they barely use. Like, niggas be like, oh, I just save $100 a year and I'll be good. No, nigga, that's not cutting shit. Like, you know, and most niggas don't do that much.
Faster than it adds up. I ain't, trust me, that will. Like, news value faster than it means anything. But that said, I think if you say you aren't passionate about it, I think that just shows how rational truly of a human being you are, because logic makes sense to you. You know what I mean? And the shit, and if for you to recognize the shit that for you to recognize what true financial literacy is and can do, then you understand what true education has been held from us, or withheld from us, or omitted from the system. So it's like, of course, it would make sense to you if you're not passionate about it. But I think it appears as passion because, and even on my part, I think it appears as passion, but it's just the way we should be. You know what I mean? Because it's logical, just rational to us. But to most people and to us when we were first introduced to it, we're like, well, they don't get to the mind blown, whoa, what the fuck stage, because they're just like, yeah, no, that's not for me, because they don't know enough about it. You know what I mean? So it's like once they do experience or read or get a glimpse of what behind the curtain looks like, they'll get the excitement and urge to learn. Then they'll get their mind blown, and then they'll get to the state of where you and I are, where it's like, it's just common sense at this point. You know?
And speaking of common sense and tying into the real estate thing, also I feel a big part of it is discipline. A lot of people don't want to have the discipline that it takes to really like do something that's going to like be great for the long term. And I think about just buying a property. Like, almost anybody I've ever talked to, you know, speaking of places out there, my plan has always been for my first. People always say, "We ain't gonna buy a house. We ain't gonna buy a house." I don't give a fuck about buying a house. Like, I don't care. That shit does nothing for me. A roof is a roof. However, my plan has always been, whenever I do buy a house, it needs, since I don't give a fuck, it needs to be for a purpose to make money. The plan has always been, my first place will either be a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex, whatever, and I will live in it and then rent out the other half. That to me seems the only reason to buy a house, really. It's just not that deep. Unless I just have stupid bread and I'm going to buy a dream house. But until then, I need to buy something I can make money off. And I've talked to plenty of people about this idea, and everybody's familiar with this idea of like, oh yeah, live in one half, rent the other half. And everybody knows this scheme per se, but most people just don't do it because it takes too much commitment, investment, discipline, you know, get your credit right, stack
and people who
put something down on it, and then knowing that it's going to lead to that, you know, people just don't want to do that, whatever. And like something simple as that, it's a simple idea. Like niggas will go put money down in the house just living for no fucking reason, but yeah, it's just because that's also what they used to. So it's just a thing of like why niggas don't try to do things that can be better down the road.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, just like you're saying, is it's like it's easier to go with what you know, and then also like if they're not in a situation like you, where you're establishing a family, if you're like a bachelor like myself, like you can go and just get a single family home and still do the same idea. You have a room for yourself and rent out the rest of the rooms. It's like you can do it on a smaller scale. It's just, when will you be ready to do it? You know what I mean? If that's something that you're passionate about. Now, if it's something you're not passionate about, then don't do it. You know what I mean? But for us who do want to build, like, we'll in the time that it needs to happen, we'll be taking those necessary steps to progress forward, because this financial literacy isn't hoopla. It's not like imaginary. Like, people will see the benefits in our lives, and as we will see the benefits in our lives, which is most important. Like, you know.
Right. So this next topic, I think you'll be able to, your radical way of thinking, you'll be able to, relate. Well, let's see. Also, you have way more experience with white people than I do. So are you familiar or aware of the oppression Olympics that's going on right now with the Jewish people trying to make black people feel like they're the most oppressed people in the country?
uh,
You familiar with the Nick
I'm
Cannon,
not
Sean
aware of
Jackson thing?
that in this country. Go ahead.
Are you
Sorry.
familiar with the Nick Cannon and the Sean Jackson thing recently?
Yes, yes. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with the Nick Cannon side at least. And I'm like, I find it ironic that we're having an oppression Olympics with the discussion of Jews and Jewish black people, because Jewish black people, if you YouTube it or Google it right now, if you have a second device, for longer than 5 years, if not more than that, the Ethiopians in Israel, or the Jews in Israel, the black Jews in Israel, have been protesting, saying Black Lives Matter for as long as we have. They've been saying the same shit, and there's footage of them having pipe bombs thrown at them. There's footage of them getting choked out and stumped out by the police directly, like Jews in Israel right now. So to be trying to have like a competition, when, not to say you're the direct oppressor, but if you go to Israel right now and ask the black Jews how they feel, I mean, I think they would say the white Jews are oppressing them, and the white Jews aren't valuing their Judaism. They're not valuing they're not valuing their expression of their sameness, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find that like ironic. I find it to be some fuck shit, to be honest. Like, that's the simplest way.
And what I've been telling people is, like, I've actually been triggered, and like, cause I feel it's really been a slap to the face of black people. Cause
Absolutely.
especially the timing. We in a moment right now where black people are really like in this uprising, awakening type time where, yo, enough is enough. We really want to see some change right now type shit, whatever.
Right.
So for white Jewish people specifically to have this, to take time out their history and powerful days to be like, hey, how dare you say something about us? That's anti-Semitic. I just feel like, yo, at the end of the day,
that's foul.
Yeah, like, end of the day, if someone is like, I feel like, and that's what makes it ironic. Like, black people have been talking about for hundreds of years here that, yo,
no, thousands of years everywhere, but
yeah, exactly.
hundreds of years here, yeah.
Right. So, people are racist, people hate us, people say they hate us to our face. Nigger, die, go back to your country, monkey, all type of wild shit. Deliberately, intentionally saying they hate us. And a black person in America, the most oppressed person on this land today, can say, you know what? I think Jewish people have a lot of power, and a lot of these all these entities and companies and studios and entertainment lanes, industry. Jewish people have a lot of power or whatever. And a Jewish person would then respond and say, oh, that's anti-Semitic. We have all of the power. What do you mean we have a lot of the power? I'm only stating facts and observations of the world, and Jewish people are in a lot of the high-ranking positions that black people tend to be oppressed and held at the bottom by. I'm not saying I'll do these things intentionally. I'm just saying, coinky-dink, y'all at the top, and we are at the bottom. These are the facts. Like,
a direct analogy, Viacom is owned by Jewish family. Mm-hmm. Viacom owns all of music. Mm-hmm. Popular music is black people. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that equation not directly?
Good. And black people began fucked up entertainment deals since the beginning of time. So,
since the beginning of music.
Yeah. So whether you want to say y'all been giving black people deals intentionally to fuck over black people, nobody's saying that. I'm just saying y'all been getting black people fucked up deals since the beginning of music, and niggas been fucked over as a result of that. Yeah. However you want to cut the cake's still getting sliced. So like it is
Yes.
what it is. And I feel the core of all this is the audacity of white Jewish people specifically again to act like who are black people talking about? Like a Jewish white person can stand next to a black person in a Black Lives Matter rally and say police brutality is wrong, police are doing this is wrong, da da da. We agree, black man. I agree with you. And then I look to the Jewish person and say, you know what? Jewish people have been a part of oppressing black people in this country. Like Jewish people have been a part of oppressing people. Da da da. Are you saying you hate Jewish people? Are you saying you hate me? No. Just like I was protesting police and you agreed that I'm not saying all police are bad or all police are evil. I'm not against the police. I'm just against police brutality. Just so if I'm telling you Jewish people have been a part of oppressing me, I'm not saying I hate Jews and all Jews have been oppressing me. I'm saying your group has been a part of this shit. How can't you understand this? Like how, whatever. Like, and then on top of it, you're white. So it's like y'all this white trying to act like y'all more oppressed than me. A black person. What type of audacity is this shit?
How could they be more oppressed than us if they got reparations from a country that didn't oppress them? They got reparations from the US for what Hitler did. Mm-hmm. We still didn't get reparations, and that was promised to us.
What Hitler did in less than a decade, and he killed us too. Niggas was killed.
Exactly. Mind you. What I found funny is, or more ironic is, so we've known there's been mass murders on African Americans or Africans in America since they've been brought here and before that. So let's start with 1865. But they said in 1921 is when 1919, I think Birth of a Nation, I think.
Yeah, am I right? Yeah.
Or Klansman came out around that time, and then the novel Klansman came out around that time. Then the book then the movie Birth of a Nation, and which was a KKK propaganda film. 1921 to present, there have been mass atrocities, mass murders on Africans in America, and that's from Tulsa and on. And that's in Pennsylvania, that's in Arkansas. Like there's a graphic of where there were mass, what they call riots, but it was literally white people killing the nearest black person they could find, and communities of black people they can find. It was spanned technically, just to not get off topic. It said the actual span of it was 1921 to 1938. Just going back to the Hitler thing. So we're saying 1921 to 1938. When was Hitler killed? Like, what are we talking about in timing though? So you're saying while Hitler was killing us and you guys, y'all, the white Americans were killing black Americans, and then y'all say y'all are oppressed, equally as oppressed as us. Like how is that possible? Because then you come over here, you join in with people that essentially have been oppressing us. Not saying that you joined in with the mass riots, but the mass killings never stopped. But somehow you guys have assimilated and blended in with the other whites, maybe just separate because of the reparations. You just own everything, Hollywood, the music industry. So you may have not even assimilated in with the rest of the whites. You're probably truly the 1%. But we weren't able to even assimilate in with the whites that were killing us on a class level. Not that we want to assimilate truly, some people do, but we weren't even able to reflect the classism, because every time we built something, it was destroyed. So, like, I just don't see how it could equate. Our history here has been longer. The oppression here has been longer and systematic, to the point where they have quote unquote fictional writings, like the Willie Lynch theory, that were directly implemented in our system into Jim Crow law. You know what I mean? So I find it funny that you can compare anyone's plight to ours. I find it even funnier when gay is compared to the plight of black. That's even more.
We'll get back to the gay part. That's a good point, a good topic. But like, Yeah, and like I said, like that's why I say it's such a slap in the face, because if we try to tear down white supremacy in this country, we can't then also act like Jewish people haven't and aren't a part of white supremacy. Like that's like a weird reality niggas trying to make up.
Because if they aren't
Like Jewish
directly
people have done nothing wrong in this country. Like it's like, yo, like
right,
it's okay. All y'all aren't bad, but damn well all y'all aren't good. Like what are we talking about here?
and let's play hypothetical. Let's say, okay, the Jewish people in this country are not the white people in this country, right? They're just not. They're a separate thing altogether. Then if they are, then you're exclusively the 1%. So you're benefiting off of all of the plight. So even if you aren't directly the ones shooting us down, you're benefiting off all of the plight. I highly doubt that someone other than like I can't say it's a Jewish person who owns the nearest private prison. But I do know, as we used an example, the Jewish people own Viacom. And I do know Viacom owns some private prisons. So, I mean, I can't say that you're not, I can't say you are directly involved in our plight because our plight has begun before you got here. True. But your plight is not even compared to ours. And then secondly, you can't say that you are not connected to the oppressor when you are a beneficiary of our plight. It's that simple. You are a beneficiary of our plight, even if you don't directly put the bullet in the gun. You own the company that makes the bullets. So, what conversation are we truly having here? We own nothing. You own everything.
Right, and somebody, so you said, so someone, I heard someone had a conversation with some Jewish people, and they was like, yeah, you know, like Jewish people built Hollywood, and they was like, oh, that's anti-Semitic, and he was like, but y'all did.
But think about it, bro. I was inspired by those people. Warner Brothers, two brothers. Actually, they started a store here. I think it was like in Homestead or something like that. And then it was like a movie store or something like that, and it expanded into Warner Brothers. They're Jews. How is that anti-Semitic? They're Jews. Like, they're Jewish. I mean, Burger Brothers, Warner, does not sound Jewish to you? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. How's that? That's just saying, it's like saying Smith or Johnson doesn't sound black or doesn't sound white owned. Let's say that. You know what I mean?
Like, what I heard somebody said to try to defend the anti-Semitic claim, and they was like, well, you know, Hitler used similar language to try to condition and brainwash people to act like Jewish people are monsters, so it'd be easier to kill them. So you say, you know, Jewish people own everything. That's a trigger language to make people think about. I'm like, I hear you, but fuck all that shit, nigga. Like, if it's the
fact, with the people, we've never been mobilized as a people to a level like that. We've never been mobilized as a people. Like, you can say, oh, Martin Luther King. You can say, oh, Malcolm X. No, neither one of them. Neither one of them has mobilized the people, even to the point of this Black Lives Matter movement. To the point where collectively a whole bunch of Black people got together and started wrecking shit. No, like Hitler was using propaganda because he actually had power to influence people who already had a hate for Jews. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was telling them something new. He was like, look, you guys hate Jews, we're pandering. It's just like Donald Trump was pandering to the let's be real, the white trash extremists and the wealthy people, you know, for a tax break. So it's like pandering is and using propaganda is very different than just saying the sky is blue and the sun is like white or yellow or all colors. You know what I mean? Like however you perceive it as bright. You know what I mean? Like the truth is the truth. You can't, and sometimes it's too ugly for people. And for them, it's just like you said, they're like, oh, did you say something about us? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you exist. You are in us. You know what I mean? Like you are existing. You're an entity. So I mean,
another thing that's been funny, like this has been like a whirlwind of like revelation of this whole Jew shit. Because like my whole life, they don't call this anti-Semitic too. But like I've literally looked at Jewish people as just white people. Like it's never been a thing in my brain to be like, oh no, this person is Jewish. Now, of course, you say you're Jewish. I'm like, okay, now I know you're Jewish. But if I'm just looking at you, you're white, and like all y'all niggas just white. It is what it is. Like, but because if you stand me next to a fucking Panamanian and Dominican or whatever, so according to all y'all, we all black, so it's the same shit to me, whatever. Even though we not all, that's a whole other topic, whatever. But it's like all that niggas just white to me, whatever. So
but you're right though, cause to me, like, let's be real, like I couldn't tell you the difference between a Jewish person and a white person, besides the fact that and mind you, my mentor, one of my closest mentors besides Bill Nunn, I'm not gonna say her whole government name. Her name was Hallie though, and she's Jewish, and she was one of like the best people in my life. But even she would let me know like it's like a religion. Like people can practice Orthodox, can practice it, or non-practicing. It's a religion though. Like I don't think it's a I'm not sure. I don't want to make any.
yeah,
I don't want to say anything definite and say it's not a race, but Jew, like you know what I mean. Like there's being Nigerian, people from Nigeria. You know what I mean. So I'm not trying to get into no ethnic stuff, but I mean there are Israelites that are both black and white. So I couldn't tell you that a Jewish person is a specific color. I can tell you Judaism is a religion. It is something you can practice. So technically an Asian can be a Jew. You know what I mean? So I don't see how race plays into it. It's basically a choice.
Right. Facts.
You know what I mean?
I do know a couple of black Jews.
Yeah, they're Ethiopian naturally, but I mean, to say you're Israeli is something else. But you know.
But what's funny to me, what's been part of Revelation, I've been seeing some black people. You know, you have, of course, these days you're gonna have coons and borderline coons and all type of niggas trying to, you know, stand out on the ledge and all type of wild shit. I've been seeing black people saying like, "How can y'all talk about Jews? I've always had a connection with Jews and this and that." I was like, when? Where did this happen? Like,
bro,
black people
I'm so glad you
it
said
was
that,
like, what you mean? We went through slavery. They went through that. What? What the fuck does that got to do with us? Like, what we like?
Exactly. And mind you, you can empathize with someone and them having nothing to do with you. That's called empathy. I mean, like, that's what you do as an actor. Like, you can empathize for a rapist seeing his last seconds on this planet. But I don't mean, you know what I mean? Like, that rapist has anything to do with you. Like, and I'm not gonna use a rapist as an example. Again, I was twice in this. That was kind of weird. But not like you see what I'm saying though. It's like our plight is our plight, and we can't share our plight. Like you can, like the people who feel fed up with seeing us fucked up, join in in the revolt and join in the solution, in the proposition of the solution, and in the critical thinking sessions. But like trying to immediately try to relate to, oh, like I know someone who's been shot too. Like no. Like we're not gonna play these semantics. Like we have a struggle that is specific to us, and it cannot be replicated, or we've been through this too. Like nah. Like we need to solve this problem. That's just deflecting. You know what I mean? That's digression.
With black people, like we always got this forgiving nature or this like including nature and all this shit. And me, I don't have that naturally. Like I don't like to mingle with everybody, like to involve everybody. I definitely don't forgive nobody. So it's just like I can't even relate to these type of things when niggas be like, no, we connected too, and we on the same boat too, and nigga, what the fuck is y'all even talking about? Like this.
That's for people by nature, I think, because it's like, how do you think all of these fucking colonizers got into Africa? How do you think all of these? How do you think we got over this world so easily? Like, there's proof of our existence in every country. It's like it's because we're so welcoming. Because we were kings and we came from abundance. You know, everything that we had was a lot. You know what I mean? Whether it was a lot of gold or diamonds or anything, just a lot. Animals, anything, food, you know, women. And I think that piece of us is still in us, but we have to shake that off. Like we have to, because that is why we have African Americans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is why we have Brazilians and Portuguese and Puerto Ricans and shit. Like, and Italians and shit. Like, we weren't meant to just. I don't know. I don't think everything is about inclusion. I don't think everything is about separation, but I don't think everything is about, like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like on some Marcus Garvey shit, bro. Like,
I feel you. And it's the last thing I said about this as well. Whereas, like, I heard someone say a quote, and again, it triggered me. I'm like, yo, black people we really got fucking issues where we really never gonna get where we need to be. Cause niggas be having, like, I think you even mentioned earlier, black people had this Stockholm syndrome that we be.
That's what it was.
With the oppressor, having an oppressor. It's a quote. I forgot the quote, but it's like, niggas gonna start thinking the oppressor is the oppressed. It's like, how do we even get here? Like, so black person was like, me as a black man, I know what it's like to feel like that. So I would never want to make another marginalized group feel like that. I'm just like, how is it the responsibility of literally the most oppressed person in this country to empathize with white people? Like, what? Niggas
Bro.
wild.
Hey, yo. Oh, shit.
Like,
bro.
yo, hold on, a white man. Did I offend you during my, like, huh? Like, niggas get killed every day.
Think about that. Like, how can you have time? How can you have time to be dying, like literally dying, but feel the pain of somebody else's breakup? Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, man, I had my heart broken before, like in and out of your last, you know what I mean? Like, you could barely get your last breath out. You just tell her you know what I mean? You ain't gonna have none left for yourself, empathizing for these other people. Them people are the you know what? Those are the clever motherfuckers. Those are the motherfuckers cooning that are trying to be clever about it. You know what I mean? Like, they try to wiggle their way around not being on the side of your people. You know what I mean? Like, shit that that fucked me up about the whole Nick Cannon situation though was the fact that he apologized. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he went outside. He went outside.
Because it was like, it made everything you said damn near invalid. You know what I mean? Like, everything you were, all of the jewels you was dropping, every perspective you were coming from, all of the truths you said, you made them just what they said. You made them anti-Semitic. You made them offensive slurs and statements because that's what you said they were. You said, hey, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean that. You didn't even call him Dr. Griff anymore. You said Richard, and I'm like, you're a coon. Like, I knew it. You know what I mean?
Like, the reason why Nick pissed me off is literally nobody told you to jump on the ledge. Like, you jumped on the ledge saying all this shit. It's like speaking very descriptively and passionately and boldly. And I'm
very specifically.
Yeah, when someone sent me the clip,
why am I allowed?
Yeah.
He kept saying that.
Yeah.
When he kept saying that like it was a setup or something.
Yeah, when they sent me the clip, first thing I said was, I'm like, you know what? For him to speak this boldly and this articulate and all such shit, he must be prepared for whatever come with this worst case scenario. So when I saw his show got canceled in 24 hours on some fucking public lynching shit, like white supremacy reminder, like, niggas stay in your fucking place, bull. How dare you talk about us?
Real fans.
We talk about you, nigga. You don't talk about us on that type of time. I was like, okay, he must be ready to walk away. Because my thing, like, so when he didn't apologize, I'm like, Nick, what type of bitch ass shit? Like, nigga, you should have all the money that you should be good for the rest of your life. So at this point, you just scared to lose your status, which to me is some weird ass insecure shit. Cause like, if you like, to me, I don't understand trying to cling on to fame or status. If you got,
that's what I was about to say. What status is he clinging on to though? What status is he clinging on to? Because I'm going to be honest,
I think it is to be able to have another show. Where to me though, if you not prepared,
Oprah could have gave him that. Diddy could have gave him that. He turned his back on both of those two opportunities. He said, I want the white opportunity. That black opportunity isn't good enough for me. I want the white opportunity. Oprah stepped up. Diddy stepped up. Even his man, DC Young Fly, said something like, We standing with you, Nick. I'll flame them niggas next if like tag me in type shit. This motherfucker said, I'm sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. I just and then the motherfuckers tried to make it seem like he was trying to protect people's checks. I'm like, Diddy could cover that. Oprah could cover that. Like that's what standing with your people is for. But you want to talk the talk for views, just like wilding out. You want to rip on niggas for views. Like it's all for show for you. But you showed us a very distinctive characteristic, and it's a disqualifying characteristic, and that's that if the dollar's not coming from the white hand, it's not good for you. He made that very evident because I mean, I'm sure like he was going to be guaranteed more money fucking with an Oprah directly or fucking with a Diddy directly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not mad at that analysis at all. My initial thought was like whether Puffy could give him another deal, whoever. I thought he was thinking of just future deals of like same thing like Kevin Hart, where like niggas be like, damn, if I could never get another, because of course, as we just said, Jewish people are at the top of a lot of positions in all these entities. So he probably was thinking like, yo, like if I make them mad, or Kevin Hart, if I make all these gay people mad, all these white people mad, I may never be able to get another good movie, or I might get blackballed in a sense, whatever. But to me, my thing is like, you should have content and security in yourself, where as long as your money is good, if your money is good and your family can be good for a remainder, and you can do other things business wise, and y'all can be straight. To me, that's all that should fucking matter. Once you made it's nothing Kevin Hart can do, and he ain't gonna do anything because this nigga's going downhill. But there's nothing more he can do that can make him more of a legend. There's nothing Nick Cannon can do that can make him so much more renowned or whatever. So at this point,
whatever Nick Cannon is,
yeah. So like, you just want to cling on and just do more things to be ingratiated in this world and culture, entertainment, to just do more shit because it's a greed disease thing. I need more. I think about Chappelle. Like Aaron had the
last
Chappelle
project. What was Nick Cannon's last movie? Chirac with fucking with Spike Lee, bro. Yeah. Like it's like the consciousness is for show, because if behind scenes if on a camera you're with KRS-One and with Dr. McGriff and you know all these profound people, but behind the scenes you're apologizing to these people. You're saying you don't believe in any of the rhetoric you spew, and you define it as rhetoric, not knowledge, or like I just like you see through motherfuckers like that. Like it's like you grew up making money in this shit, and you see and you were articulating that there's a lot wrong with this shit. So with them shutting you down or giving you a public buck breaking, like that was an opportunity to say fuck you or take a step back and be even more independent. But it showed like you ain't no real boss. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I think about Chappelle, when Chappelle decided to walk away, Chappelle had to have and he wasn't as tenured into entertainment as Nick Cannon is right now. Nigga was like 5 years into really being who he was, tops. So it was like, but he decided to walk away and take his public lynching, what he went through, being called a crackhead, being said he ran away to Africa and lost his mind, whatever. But he had to have that security, and so like, if I don't get another job in this bitch, I'm good with that and fuck that. But niggas they need that fame, they need that status to be able to go to certain places, get more jobs and more deals. But like, no, fuck that shit. Like I said what the fuck I said. And again, you chose to go that hard. He could have said the same shit he said and code it in a different way. Be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna say what I say, but I'm not gonna be full radical. How am I saying everybody gotta be Malcolm X, Farrakhan radical style? Everybody, that's not meant for everybody. But But if you go hard, stay on that shit. And if you, as a black person, if you don't like the way somebody said, then I hate when niggas go against shit. You can be like, no, I understand what he meant. That nigga said some facts. You know, freedom of speech comes with freedom of consequence, so you got to take everything that comes back to you. But no, I get where he was coming from, whatever. It is what it is. I would never say Nick Cannon was crazy. He was saying anything, whatever. Because most of that shit, whether you want to disagree with like certain parts, whatever, the point of all that shit, like we've been saying this whole time, is Jewish people one, Jewish people are at top of a lot of positions in this fucking country. That's a fact. White people have a certain history that they do a bunch of wild shit in this country alone, which is a fact. So all this other shit that's cool, and then all the other shit that you want to say, well, maybe that's not. I don't give a fuck about that shit, nigga. Facts. Like y'all can try to nitpick and all that shit, whatever. I don't want to hear all that shit. And just because we say these things, don't mean none of us fucking hate Jewish people. Black people give a fuck about hating Jewish people. It's not in us. Exactly. We don't give a fuck. Yeah, we don't hate y'all. Like, but you want to know what it is though? In this country, there's a history of that other side hating us. That's a fucking fact. They trying to turn us like we oppressing y'all. How the fuck is it even possible? Like, so
exactly. Exactly. How could the poorest people oppress the richest people? That would be something to see. Like, bro, my shit is super low. Give me your you get what I'm saying.
You ready to go out? You good? All right, yeah, we can
wrap it up. My phone went down a little bit.
No, it's cool. It's good. We had a good ass talk anyway. You can wrap it up. But so you would do another time, do a part 2, whatever.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. So in Germany, did you have a good time on the first episode? You know, have you here, tell you a little bit of your story, get into some radical conversation. You have a good time?
Hell no. It's like no. It's like no, bro. I fucking love it, bro. This is an amazing platform, bro. I'm so proud of you. Like I can't wait, bro. Like I already see it. You already put the work in. All you gotta do is wait. Now watch your shit go up, and then you start your numbers start going up, the money start going up for it. You already put the work in. I'm so proud of you. It's a beautiful structure. It's a perfect setup. Keep it going.
Appreciate it. Love for you too, and I'm glad to hear the space you're in. You're in a good mental, physical, and direction in life. It's good to hear. And we're both on the same type time, back to alignment for this year and shit like that, whatever. So I'm excited for the near future and how we're going to look back on this time next year. So
yes,
we'll mark this down and we'll see how shit goes on. And if you listened thus far, hopefully you didn't think that his life was too fucked up. Hopefully you don't think we hate Jews, and hopefully you don't think this conversation was boring or trash. And if you don't, go subscribe to the podcast, search on anything you listen to shit. RightonQuelive, one word, QUE, Right on Q Live. Search that anywhere. Also, I did a compilation album with a bunch of emerging talented artists in the city, in the area, called We Are Live. Search that RightonQuelive, We Are Live, and anywhere you stream music, find it out, Dope Show in there, whatever. And yeah, appreciate it. We out. RightonQuelive, talk about it. Done.